If you need a fun project to do, stay tuned. This is adorable. It is an ephemera holder, and I'm going to show you how to make it. Hello everyone, this is Karen from Write Out Loud Studio, and thank you so much for joining me today. Let me show you this adorable little project. This is made from a file folder, and it is an ephemera holder. You open it up and you have a pocket here with a little card. Open it again and you have a flip out here with two pockets and a little notepad that's just attached to a belly band. And then you open it again. It opens up here, another pocket, some more cards and tags. And then here on the very bottom, you have two side tucks with some tags. This part right here flips open and you have some journaling space. Okay, so let me get set up to show you how to make this. And I hope you will join me and tag along. So what you need is a file folder. Mine is coffee dyed. Yours does not have to be. You'll need a craft knife, scissors, some Distress Oxide inks. You'll need a circle punch, a tag punch, or you can just cut your corners, and a corner rounder, a bone folder, some string, a brad, some tape, a pencil. You'll need some decorative papers. I am using some papers from Yvonne, Preston. And you'll need your paper trimmer, and you'll need a scoreboard. Okay, so let me get set up for that, and I'll be right back. Okay, we're going to start with our file folder. I have one that has a center tab. I don't think that really matters because we're going to trim that part off anyway. Okay. I'm going to open this up, and I'll have to put it lengthwise so that you can see everything. But you want to figure out how wide you want this to be. Okay. Mine is roughly 5 inches wide, maybe a tiny bit more. It really doesn't matter. Make it as wide as you want it to be. And then draw a line, find your center, and go out. So for instance, if this is 5 inches, 2.5 would be your center point, and you want to make a line 2.5 inches out from the center on either side, and make a line all the way down the length of your file folder. Okay. The file folder has a natural fold in it, but it also, at least mine does, has 2 more score lines. I want to utilize the one next to this one, the original fold line, and I want to fold that and give it a good burnish. So this becomes like a little miniature spine to hold all of this stuff. It's about 3/8 of an inch. So we also need another 3/8 inch spine here at the top, okay? I'm sorry that I can't get this whole thing in the camera. Okay, so when you open this up, this top portion down to its fold line is roughly 4 inches, okay? So according to my file folder, and these are my file folders. I don't know that they're all consistently measuring out the same. Again, these are just my measurements. Measuring not from this part, but from this part right here, you want to measure down 4 3/8 inches. Let me just check that that's exactly what that is. Yep. Measure down 4 3/8 inches and mark a line all the way across the width of your file folder. This is going to become a score line. Now, we want to make a 3/8 inch spine like we did here. So measure down down to 4 3/4 inches and make another line. And then you want to score those two. Just ignore this line right here. So what's left over is 3 1/4 inches on either side all the way down, okay? So this section right here between the score lines is roughly 4 1/8. This section is 4 inches. And this section here is, looks like 4 1/4. All right, so once we score our lines here and here, we can then go and begin to cut out these sections. All right, so we want to remove this section. Don't cut this off yet. Remove this section and remove this section at the bottom. We're going to keep these two. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. Let me go ahead and score my lines, and I'll do that on camera. Again, please ignore that line. I made a boo-boo while I was marking the measurements on here. Okay, and we want to score along this pencil line too. Give that a good crease. All right, and then we want to fold along the second one. Again, guys, I can't stress enough, don't get too hung up on my measurements. You do this at whatever size you want. Okay. Now I want to score along this line at the bottom. Furnish that. So now that all the score lines, and I'm going to go ahead and just ink this just so I can see the fold line clearly. It'll also help when you're trimming out those sections we're not going to keep. Okay, so we have our little spine there, our little spine here, and then the fold line here. Right. Let's cut. We can now cut out these sections here and here, just this section here, just this section here, and this section, okay? You may need to do some additional trimming depending on how this fits together. Now we can go ahead and cut these end pieces off. Okay. So let me lay these side by side. Get out a little bit. Hopefully you can see the whole thing. Okay, so the only part I have left to trim is this little part right here, and we're just going to do it even with this line. All right, so the next thing I want to do is round all of these little points. Trim this piece off. So let's do that. All right, so everything is rounded. The next thing you want to do is go through, and if you like your inking, you want to go through and ink everything. All right, before we do that, I want to go ahead and fold these little flaps in. You can score them if you wish, but they're kind of small. And what I'm making sure that they don't interfere with anything. Oops, I forgot this corner. This tiny little piece here that we need to clip off. Make sure that these flaps don't interfere with folding your, and that actually looks pretty good. We may have to trim just a smidge off of the top of these. That folds good. That folds good. So there you go. There's the base of the little ephemera holder. Okay, I hope that makes sense. So just to recap, you want to use your natural fold line of your file folder. You want to use the second score line that's on your file folder and fold it, burnish it, mark it however you want. Mine is 3/8 of an inch. Because mine's 3/8 of an inch, I need another one up here that is equal in size to it. Okay. This is determined by how wide and how long you want your little flap to be. Mine's 4 inches by just over 5 inches. And everything else will be based off of that. Okay? I will leave the measurements on a diagram. I'm going to try to do that anyway, so you'll have something to go by. But again, I know I'm repeating myself, but look, these little corner pieces. Yours can be whatever size that you want it to be. All right? Okay. So the next thing we need to do, is, like I said, is ink all of our folds if you want to do that. I'm going to do that off camera and then come back. And then hopefully you have figured out which papers you want to use. Again, I am using some papers from Yvonne Preston. I love her papers. They're just beautiful. I will leave a link to her Ko-fi shop below. She offers a lot of free printables as well as paid. I have a combination of both here. This is what I used on the other prototype that I made. And we're going to cut out little pieces of paper to fit all of these little panels. Okay, so let me get this inked up and I'll be right back. Okay, I've inked all of my edges up and fold lines, and while I was doing that, I thought it might be easier to understand this if I lay the trimmed out piece out on a file folder that I've done nothing to. All right, so each of these sections is 5 1/8 inches wide. Why I did that, I do not know. Make it easier on yourself and make it 5 inches wide or 5 1/2 inches wide. From this panel right here is 4 1/8 inch to the first score line. And we need a 3/8 inch spine, so the next score line is 4 1/2 inches. Okay. This next panel here is the same size, 4 1/8 inch to the natural fold line, 4 1/2 inches to the natural second score line that's in the folder. This section here is 4 inches to the fold line. And the reason why that is just a little bit smaller is so that everything fits nicely tucked in when you fold it all up. So you just need one score line here. And then this piece left over is 3.75 inches because we trimmed off this part and all of these sections. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to ask. All right, so now what we need to do, and again, the prototype that I made is a coffee dyed file folder, and you can do that too, but this one was not coffee dyed, and I just inked it. Okay. Also, what I'm going to do is just reinforce these little spine parts right here with some tape. And I use this, which is nothing but clear sticker paper that I ran, that I used alcohol inks on. I used 3 different colors. And then once that was dry, which was very quickly, I then went through with a text stamp over top of it. And then I just cut out the pieces that I need. I do not recommend using this on anything that needs to fold because it's very stiff. But just to put strips along here works perfectly. And reinforces that spine since you're going to be opening it all the time. So I'm going to cut out little strips of that and add. The other thing that we need to do once you've picked out your papers is to cut out decorative paper for each one of these sections. Once that's done, we'll come back together and we'll start laying down all of the paper and adding a closure. All right, so go get busy cutting out your papers and then we'll come right back. Okay, I've cut out all the papers to the outside of my little ephemera holder. We want to do the outside first because we're going to put a closure on the outside and use a brad, and we don't want the legs of the brad poking out on the other side. So let's go ahead and get all of these little things glued down. I have already added my reinforcement to the spines. Again, using this sticker paper and if anybody wants to see a tutorial on how I do this, I'm happy to do it. Just leave me a comment below. The important thing about putting your papers here on the outside is you want to make sure you orient your papers the correct way if they are directional, and these papers definitely are directional. Move these aside. So I'm going to fold this up It'll be easier that way. Okay, so this is our front. So we want to make sure our paper is facing that way. Go ahead and glue that down. And I've already inked around all of the paper that I cut. This is the back, and so it's oriented this way. Sorry, talk about a flippy floppy. This is it. Okay. This one is going to go this way. Okay, I got all of the panels glued down. Took a while. I think I have my Fabri-Tac was the only glue that was cooperating. So this looks really pretty. And what we want to do now is add a closure to the front here. So just take a circle punch. Mine is 1 inch. Just cut out a couple. This is just the leftover file folder. And probably add one more little piece. Just so it's nice and sturdy. But before I do that, I'm going to punch a little hole. Just a tiny little hole. And I made it too high. And just center that as best you can. Okay, and then we're going to glue all these little pieces together. Five inches would be, let's see, I want it down to about right here. See, on this one, I placed it about 1.5 inches from the bottom. Maybe a little less. And I had a brad at one time. Here it is. Put that through. Need to make my hole just a little bit bigger. And you want to place something under here so that you don't put it tight to the, let's see, anything will do. Just something with a little bit of thickness to it. That'll work. You just want plenty of room behind there to put your string. So fold down your little legs on the outside and then cover that up with a little bit of tape. And that'll keep that from poking through your papers. I'm going to give that a little bit of a smush. So there's the outside of our holder. Okay. And that's what it looks like from the side. So now we need to cut out the papers for each one of these panels, same as we did for the front. So go ahead and do that, and I'll meet you back here when I have cut out all my pieces. I've cut out all the paper for this side, and we'll get ahead and go ahead and glue that down now. Okay, so now we want to make our little pockets. And on this video, I'm not going to make the ephemera. I'm just going to do the pockets and the little flip outs. So my pocket is just shy of 2 inches. Again, this is a personal preference. You don't have to match what I'm doing exactly. So what I did, and this was print out some of the paper on cardstock and used paper that contrasted with the background papers. So I'm going to go ahead and print something neutral. I may go with this green again. I don't know. Let me take a look at the papers, and then I'll come back and we'll cut the pockets out. All right, I've chosen to cut the pockets out of this paper. I printed it out on 80-pound cardstock, and we'll just go through here and cut out our pockets. So I'm going to go with a 2-inch deep pocket. Cut that at 2 inches. Cut that out. Okay, there's that one. And then we have these here. And 2 little pockets here. It's too short. And these pockets, I don't believe, are quite 2 inches. They are just under 1.5 inches. Now, if you want to put a thumb notch in the middle, go ahead and do that. I'm going to do that. And I'm actually going to measure because I can never get it in the middle. All right, so now's the time to distress these if you're going to. And then I'm actually going to take each of these and sew around the outer edge. Just, it serves no purpose other than it looks cool. All right, now I'm going to add the little secret journaling spaces. Still using the same paper. So you want to include enough paper to have a hinge. We want the paper to be that wide, and then I'm just going to add another 1/2 inch or so and cut there. It needs to be this long. So just lost my mark. Let me do that again. And oh, there it is. I'm just eyeballing a 1/2 inch for the hinge. Okay, so this is going to go like this. We want the hinge on this side. And I'm just going to simply fold it. That looks good. I'm going to trim these off. And I'm going to round the corners. And then ink it. Actually, I'm going to round these corners too. And that way it looks nice sitting in there. Yep. You just want to make sure that the edge of this paper clears that fold. Okay, we're going to do the same thing on this side. Oops, little glue seepage. All right, I'm going to go sew all the pockets and get those attached. Then we'll come back and just take a look at the overall, and I'll give you some ideas for some additional things to add. So I'll be right back. The pockets have been sewn around. One thing I forgot to do before I stopped the video was to make a belly band to hold our notepad. So that goes here. So let's go ahead and get all of these little components glued down. So there you have it, guys. That's the base with all the pockets. And the next thing that I did on my prototype was just go through and I cut ephemera to fit into each one of the pockets from whatever scraps I had left over. All right. So this all has to dry before I add anything in it. So we're gonna go ahead and tie the string for our closure. Okay. Just gonna tie a double knot. Wrap it around as many times as you want. You can add a little charm there if you wanted to. And that's all there is to it. Very cute. All right, let me show you some additional things that you can do if you wanted to. I think that this has enough space in there that you could do that. You could add pockets inside here if you wanted to, little pockets at this size. You can do double pockets, like one here and one here, stacked on top of each other in this section and this section. You could also add pockets to these outside. Once they're closed, you could put pockets on this side as well. And I do believe there is enough room to handle it. And if you wanted to, you could put some kind of flap or pocket on the front or back. Lots of options. Lots and lots of options. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you'll give it a try. It's really fun. Like, again, there's a lot of cutting and sewing and measuring and that. So if that's not your cup of tea, then you might not want to try doing this. But once it's done, it's really, really cute, and I love it. So if you have any questions about anything that you saw me do, anything you saw me use, I'm going to leave a link in the description box to Yvonne's papers on her Ko-fi site. And even if you take advantage of the freebies, it's always nice to make a donation to the ones that are making that very generous offer. So go give her some love on her Ko-fi site, and I will see you guys in the next video. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a blessed day. Bye.